Welcome into Valuetainment Sports. I'm Danny Kanell alongside my guy Chris Manno. We got another fantastic show lined up for you guys today. A lot to get to. We've got a new leader in the clubhouse for your Super Bowl favorite, according to the odds makers. We had one of the best games of the entire season last week. Unfortunately, came up on the wrong side of. Plus, a lot of other storylines in the NFL. We have NBA season kicked off. Michael Jordan debuted as a broadcaster. We'll break that down. And a couple other fun stories along the way, including I have a little tip for quarterbacks everywhere. Don't throw your receivers under the bus. We'll have that discussion as well. But let me check in with Manno here, see how we're doing. What's up, man? How we doing?
Things are great, man. Best month of the year.
Yeah.
Right? We full
Holy
swing on.
Crap. It is. It gets to be a little bit overwhelming sometimes when you have a quad box, but I love the quad box, but you can't even come close to capturing all the sports that are on when you've got playoff baseball, you've got college football going on weeknights. You've got hockey. You've got NBA. And then you've got Dancing with the Stars, which my daughters forced me to take up one of the screens on the quad box just to keep an eye on Alex Earl, who is a TikTok influencer that's out there that they cannot miss.
And Mrs. Braxton Berrios, actually. Did you know
that's
that?
right.
That's
right.
a little football tie right there.
Yeah, so that's right. They told me she had a little University of Miami tie.
But that's the thing about now, right? Like you didn't have the luxury to break everything down into like a couple of seconds. Like if I don't catch one of the games because I have to see dancing, you can go back and watch the.
That's right.
You can go watch 6 minutes of highlights and know what happens.
Exactly. I've started to record it now, so they can go back and watch it after we go back and watch it.
And you got no juice in that house anymore.
No,
right?
no, I don't. Trying to get the remote back from their hands is like it's impossible to steer it, to get it out, wrestle it out of their hands. All right, let's start off with the Super Bowl favorite. Currently, according to the odds makers, do you have any guesses? It's been all over the place. There have been several teams that have been the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl.
It really depends. It could be there's a bunch of different places, outlets that put these out. It's one of two things. You're either going to shock me with Daniel Jones and the Colts, or you're going to say like, Chris, you were right. It's the Chiefs. They're rolling.
This to me goes pedigree. There it is. The Kansas City Chiefs, your current favorite to win the Super Bowl, despite the slow start to the season, starting 0-2. They did have the loss against the Jags, which put them at 2-3, but after back-to-back wins, one against the Detroit Lions, which was a huge win. We talked a lot about that in the scuffle afterwards. And then, one of the more impressive wins of the year, but I don't know if it means much against the Raiders, who really looked inept all over the place. But that was one of the most dominant wins that I have seen this season. And it does start to look like Patrick Mahomes is starting to return to form. It's hard to argue against. I never like to give out a favorite and say, take the favorite, especially with this much football left. I think the time to snatch up the Chiefs was when they were 0-2 or 2-3. But there's hard to argue against them getting back to a Super Bowl, which, again, is crazy to think that getting to conference championship games is all that Patrick Mahomes has known.
Yeah, 8 years now in a row. And it's crazy. It's vintage Patrick Mahomes. He looks as close to 22 Patrick Mahomes this week as he has in a couple of years. But look, it's no coincidence that coincides perfectly with him getting his weapons back. He's been great since he's come into the league. We've seen it. You equip him with players. You equip him with Andy Reid, right? The first, 5, 6, he had Tyreek and prime Travis. And he was great. Then, the problem is he set the bar so incredibly high now that even when he has like a top 7 quarterback in the year, the word is washed. He's got the washed vibe for the last 2 years. Pat Mahomes is washed. I'm like, he's 28 years old. What do you mean he's washed? He's 29 years old. Now he's 30, but he's got guys back, and it's the first time we've seen him with his full allotment of weapons since they put this room together. I thought it's been criminal the way he's been out, and I know it sounds crazy because he's had Travis the whole time, but he was throwing to Juju, and he was throwing to McCole Hardman, and he was throwing to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and still going to Super Bowls every year and winning them.
Yep.
So first week back, he's got Hollywood Brown, he's got Rashee Rice, and he's got Xavier Worthy, first-round pick from last year, and it was scary. 9 different pass catchers. Rashee's first 2-touchdown game in the league. He got to sit the third quarter out. That's vintage Chiefs.
Oh, by the way, we've talked a lot about trendy MVP candidates. I told you Baker Mayfield's going to be tougher without Mike Evans for a couple weeks.
Sure.
Josh Allen was one. Drake May has caught some steam. Guess who's the leader in the clubhouse for the MVP?
It's got to be the guy who's always been my leader in the clubhouse.
It is one Patrick Mahomes. I don't, he is still in that conversation. 14 tugs. Only 2 interceptions. He's got his team kind of looking like they're going to make another playoff run. That's the thing about the MVP award. I mean, it probably should be Patrick Mahomes every single year.
Yeah.
He is the best player in the NFL. Right. Sometimes statistically it has to align where you're up at the tops of the statistics. But I do think he is going to be a serious player because his stats are starting to line up where he's been better with the football. And sort of the slow start, I think, has kind of a new appreciation for just how good Patrick Mahomes is.
And here's something I'd keep my eye on. What the element of his game that doesn't get a ton of love because he's not Lamar and he's not one of those guys is his ability to move.
Yeah.
Right? He's been one of the better rushers on the Chiefs. He extends plays. He has a knack for running when you need to run. So like a big down, he'll call his own number a lot. What I would keep an eye on is this, though. Their big offensive tackle that they drafted in the first round, it's a mystery. No one knows where he is, right? So he's disappeared. He hasn't played the last 2 weeks now, and we're getting nothing from the Chiefs. It's all been internal, Simmons, and no one knows where he is. They are one injury away from having to put a guard over a tackle now, and that is going to be worrisome because if there has been one primary reason aside from Tyreek Hill leaving that Mahomes may have regressed the last 2 years, because he couldn't get his body together, man. He's coming in with an ankle injury every year, some naggy knee injury. As of right now, he looks strong, he looks healthy, and his play is showing it. So just keep an eye on that offensive line depth, because if this guy doesn't come back and nobody knows where he is, which is another super interesting story, peek into that one, guys, if you're home. We're going to see what happens with that.
And if you remember, one of the Super Bowls he lost against the Tampa Bay Bucks and Tom Brady was because the offensive line was horrendous. And he almost still willed him to, he's making these plays where he's falling over sideways, he's getting harassed all game. As great as he is, if you don't have that offensive line shored up, you can get exposed.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of been the Achilles heel for him every Super Bowl he's lost, and that's the Achilles heel for all great quarterbacks, and you know that better than anybody, right? How did those giant teams beat Tom Brady? They let Strahan and Justin Tuck and Human Europe pin their ears back and go chase him all day. So you make a guy back there uncomfortable, and you have success that way. But you're 100% right with that.
If I would have told you at the beginning of the season, the NFL season. Like, what is the best game of the entire season going to be? You probably would have said maybe the Chiefs-Ravens, right? You would have said maybe a Super Bowl rematch, a couple of Blue Bloods. If I would have told you the best game of the NFL season was going to feature the New York Giants with a rookie quarterback, which you didn't even know was going to start. Like, you might have assumed it was going to be Russ Wilson, like at the beginning of the season, and that it was going to be a road trip to Denver was going to be the game of the year. Yeah. You could not have, no one would have taken that bet. It would have been like, you're crazy, you're out of your mind. Right. And yet, that's exactly what we got. One of the best, unfortunately for New York Giants fans, you had one of the best comebacks we've seen, 33 points scored just in the fourth quarter alone, a roaring comeback for them. A mild collapse for the New York Giants, you could call it, after some first-round heroics from Jaxson Dart was looking really good. They jumped out to a 19-0 lead, looked pretty solid, and then slowly it started crumbling. Everyone was talking about this game. It was in the 4 o'clock window, so you get more eyeballs on it. My question for you, if you are a New York Giants fan, do you feel better about this team now, or do you feel worse about the Giants?
I feel great about the Giants if I'm a Giants fan. And because they have something in that building that they have not had for a decade, and we've spoken about this before, man, they got the hope. They got hope in that building, which they haven't had for the last bunch of years when they didn't know who their quarterback of the future was going to be. And when they're turning over general managers and coordinators like crazy. And now, I don't think there's any question, because even when things went bad, that was one of the things I took away from this game, was Jaxson Dart from the rip, he was outrageous. And then things went bad, he threw a big pick, and I was really trying to pay attention to his demeanor afterwards. Does he get in the tank? And he didn't, right? Energy stayed up, confidence stayed up, and he drove the team down, called his own number, called his own number, ran it in for what should have been the winning touchdown, right? Theoretically, but bunch of kicking mistakes, and then even the post-game press conference. Did you hear his post-game press conference? He said, "At no point did I imagine that we were going to lose that game at any point." But for a young kid to say that, I like that about him. I knew that.
He definitely has the swag. Now, I've told you, I think on here I'm a little bit worried because he's a little bit cocky. There's a fine line between confidence and cockiness, and he really toes it pretty well. He's dancing in the end zone. What worries me a little bit for Jaxson Dart is that he's still, a lot of his plays that he makes are off the cuff. They're running the football. Right. I don't think that's sustainable unless you're the type of runner that Josh Allen is, a Lamar Jackson, where you're an elite runner of the football. I think he's good. I think he's athletic, but I do worry defenses are going to make adjustments. and I worry about his health as well.
So then I'll ask you this. I'm right there with you with his health, right? And but I'd like to pick it up and move it back one segment. What did we just talk about? Patrick Mahomes, not a great runner of the football, not Lamar Jackson, but if you do enough, Patrick makes 3 or 4 running plays a game where he gets 8 big yards. And that you don't need much more from him than that.
Right.
You got to get Scadaboo out of his ear, man. That's what it is.
Yes, he might.
Scadaboo's got him all juiced up.
But Mahomes is an elite decision maker as well. And that's where I think Jaxson Dart's got to step it up and make better decisions with the football. He's get a little bit of YOLO ball out there sometimes, which has been working. Like you get hot, you get that hot hand, like you're at a craps table, and you keep hitting your numbers. That's kind of what's happening with Jaxson Dart. I'm very curious to see when they come back to earth. And they have an interesting stretch here coming up. They have to go to Philly for a revenge game because we just saw them beat Philly. Philly's
Brandon
playing
Graham
a lot better.
That's gonna be
Brandon
energy.
Graham's back, so you know he's going to pin his ears back.
Sure.
The 49ers, pretty good team, beatable, but still, it's the 49ers. It's at home. Then they have a road trip to the Bears. They got the Packers, the Lions. I worry if this is sustainable, and it's all love right now. There's all this excitement, energy, enthusiasm. If they start to lose a few in a row, and if Jaxson Dart still struggles somewhat, does he get that rookie pass and the fan base still loves him? Or do they start to question, is this the guy for the future? And that's when I want to see a quarterback stand up there and still have the confidence that he has after just 2 or 3 starts. Because that's when it gets real. Like when you start really getting questioned, are you the future of the franchise? When you instead of the crowd gets excited, when they start mumbling and starting to boo, you hear a couple boos at home because you had a 3 and out, or you had an interception, or your second interception. That to me is where the true confidence comes out. And you find out we have our franchise quarterback because he doesn't flinch in that adversity, as opposed to one bad game where you still weren't supposed to win. Everybody's kind of happy. That's what I'm concerned and keeping a very close eye on for the Giants is where they go from here.
Yeah, you're 100% right of that. I don't know if I would say confidence, but I think that's definitely where the leadership comes from because it's easy to be the biggest rah-rah cheerleader when you're winning games, but it's when you lose if you can keep guys together. I think we're going to touch on a couple of quarterbacks who had some problems with that recently, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I think regarding Jaxson Dart and the fan base turning on him, I think he's shown them more than I think we thought he would already this year. Did you think he'd come in and win games against the Super Bowl champions? He's put film down already that gives you hope. I think if things go bad, I think if things go bad, there's somebody they come for their neck first before Jaxson Dart, right? Things go bad, Dable's the first one in the can. We've talked about that, right?
I'm trying to talk Giants fans off. The hope is not a strategy, right? Like, and he's been good, and I get the excitement, I get the enthusiasm, but you need to see more before you start christening. Because I've heard a lot of people say, oh, the Giants are set for the next 10 years. Like they found their guy.
Yeah, that's
It is only 7 games. It is only 3 or 4 since he's been starting. We need to just slow down a little bit because once they start making those statements, then they dramatically flip-flop the other way. Where if he does have a bad game or 2 or 3 in a row, then it's, well, we got to draft Arch Manning. We got to go wherever the next guy is. We got to draft the next guy. So just let it breathe. I think Brian Daboll also, right now, they have 10 games left. Yeah. They have 10 games left.
Yep.
There is a lot of football left because I've also seen Brian Daboll's back next year. He is back next year. I would say not so fast. Just slow it down just a little bit. Let's see how it plays out. Not a very popular take for Giants fans right now. We're kind of feeling it, even though they're having a bad season. I just say slow it down a little bit.
See, and I don't think the Giants are having a bad season. I think that what I expected the Giants to do was a bad season. I think where they're at right now, 2-5, they had the hardest, maybe the hardest. Can we pull their schedule up real quick, Malik?
Oh, yeah.
I think coming into the year, I thought this was going to be the hardest first 10 games I could recall a team having. Mm-hmm. I thought Russell Wilson would kind of be a punching bag through the first 8 weeks or whatever, and then they'd make the move to Dart. I actually think Giants fans are hopeful because they've already gotten more than they expected this year. I do think I think a lot of it, and you could speak for this, how much does Jaxson Dart have a say in Daboll's future? He's got a massive say, right? Because if this does go okay, let's say they finish, what are they now, 2-5?
Yep.
Let's say they finish with 6 wins, okay? 6 wins. And he goes in there and Dart, they've anointed Dart. He's good. He didn't play bad, didn't fall off the cliff. He in theory, like, right, I want to tie myself to Coach Daboll. I'm comfortable with him. You see how much Coach Daboll is trying to tie himself to the point where
he's hugging him, kissing him on the neck.
Hugging him. How about busting down the medical tent on the side just to pull him out after one throw? Yeah.
I think Jaxson Dart should have 0 say.
You think Jaxson Dart should?
He is a rookie. He does not know what's best for him. And I think and he might have a relationship where you can get blinded. You might love Brian Daboll because he's the guy that drafted you. And I would imagine Brian Daboll has been constantly infusing positivity into Jaxson Dart.
Sure.
Just telling him how great he is. And that can be a little bit misleading as a young quarterback. So I don't think he knows what's best for the organization. I think he should have some input, but I don't think they should take it with much of a grain of salt.
So is that your stance on all rookie quarterbacks?
Well, all rookie quarterbacks, yes. Okay. But if you're talking about
Andrew Luck,
veteran,
a guy like Andrew Luck.
If it was Andrew Luck who was established late in his career,
no.
absolutely.
I mean, coming in as a blue chip #1 overall pick.
Doesn't matter.
Oh,
no,
really?
You don't know. Like, you don't know the game. You don't know the ins and outs of the organization. You're just too green. You just don't have the knowledge, the maturity, the wisdom that takes place with time to be able to make an educated, knowledgeable, wise choice for who the head coach should be.
And what is it that they usually say? Like, what's the number before they say, like, you're not a rookie anymore? Is it playoffs? Is it if you get to the playoffs? Like, how long do you need to see? Is there a number?
A quarterback, I think you need to play 3 years.
Really?
Like, of sustainable starting for 3 years before you really are comfortable in knowing how everything works.
And we've seen guys like Cam come out of the gates like a maniac, right? And we've seen Jaden Daniels have a monster year and C.J. Stroud have a monster year. Is there
C.J. Stroud's a great example because I hate it because it looks, I don't want to say it, he looks like a one and done. Like he had his rookie year and then it's been all regression since then. I still think he's talented. I think they haven't done a good job protecting him or putting him in good positions to succeed. But I'd like, if the Texans made a move, which I don't think they will, I think that's one where I'd go to C.J. Stroud and say, like, hey, what are you looking for? What qualities are you looking for in a head coach? Like, where were we missing with D'Amico Ryans? Like, I think that I'd be okay with. But to ask a rookie any input, I'd say no.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, but some organizations might not. I mean, we're seeing all kind of different ownership tactics that are working across the game. Some are very hands off. Exactly. Some are hands off. Some are hands on. We've got an owner for the Colts who's got her headsets on, listen to every play call, and I'm seeing people say you got to. That's the way you have to do it. We've got others hands off. We've got Jerry Jones. Like there's no formula to do it. So I'm sure there were some owners that would go to Jaxson Dart. I don't think the Maras would do that. I just think they would go to some of their people that they would trust that have more wisdom and been around the game a lot. But you never know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we go from the Chiefs to the Giants. Now, I root for two teams. I root for the Giants because they drafted me, and I root for the Dolphins.
Yes, you do.
Because I grew up a Miami Dolphins fan, and I used to watch them year after year go up to Buffalo and just get handed an L from Jim Kelly and the K-Gun offense, and Dan Marino would get sent home for another offseason. Well, just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it did, because I don't think many people thought they were an underdog to the Browns. The Browns were the favorite in that game. But my goodness, that was the worst performance, maybe not only from the Dolphins. I mean, the Raiders might have a say in this because they just got shut out ugly. Yes, but that was the Chiefs. This is the Browns we're talking about with a rookie quarterback in their own and Dylan Gabriel that completely dominated the Dolphins. And this one visually to me was startling to see the lack of effort, to see the lack of interest, to see the lack of care with the football as Tua's chucking interception after interception, ambulance ball after ambulance ball, almost getting his guys killed. It was gross, and I am genuinely shocked that the Dolphins still have not made a change at head coach, because we've talked about this for a few weeks now. Oh, I think it could come. I think it could come this Monday, and it still hasn't happened. It's just beyond belief.
So what changes? Let me ask you this, right? So now we're in a crazy spot where both of these guys who had a great marriage when they first started, we saw Brian Flores leave, right? Tua sort of seemed like he fell back into his old ways, which this is good.
Yep.
He's being empowered by Mike McDaniels. And now we're at the point where every week it's going to be a battle of who's going to dog out who on the mic first, right?
Yep.
Now I think it's a case of his side, her side, and the truth, right? We're at there somewhere now. It makes you think, did Brian Flores have something when he was talking the first time? It's Tua a little mentally
he's definitely mentally fragile.
So what's up? But let me ask you this. So they make the change right now.
Yep.
What changes?
You wake the bleep up. That's what happens. Because I think these players are way too comfortable. I don't think they respect Mike McDaniel. I think they look at it, and I've been on some of these teams.
Okay.
When you are done with that game, you are, where's my paycheck?
Sure, of course.
Where's my paycheck? All right, I'm ready to go. Well, guess what? If you fire your head coach, or if you bench Tua, which I think also would be a great suggestion, he has been 1 touchdown, 6 interceptions his last game. You need to send to a message of urgency to the Miami Dolphins players that the status quo is unacceptable. But clearly, it kind of is, because they haven't made any changes. They haven't benched Tua. You haven't fired Mike McDaniel. So guess what you're going to get? those results on the field. So if you're Stephen Ross and you're the owner, I hope you enjoy that because it ain't turning around until you do something drastic. Now, maybe they're looking at it like, well, who would call the plays? Who's going to be the interim coach? Who's hiring the next coach? What does it mean for Tua's future if we bench him? All those things, but those are the wrong things to be thinking about if you're talking about trying to turn around a season.
And I think that's exactly, that's where I think I would be, as much as I hate to admit it. If I'm a businessman like Stephen Ross and I'm saying this is a lost season, Tua's a lost cause. We don't believe in him. We don't believe in our coach. I might be in draft mode already. Like, you're going to do what? What are you going to do? You're going to bring in, is it Zach Wilson? Is that their backup right now?
No. So Quinn Ewers actually won the backup job
from
before Cleveland. And so Tua did get benched at the end of that game.
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers came in for a few plays. I think they should go to him. I liked him out of college.
Me too.
I thought he shined. I went down to training camp, watched him practice. I thought he outplayed Zach Wilson. And maybe you luck into, I don't want to say Tom Brady, but a Brock Purdy. Maybe I hate putting anybody in that Tom Brady stratosphere, but Brock Purdy was undrafted. Quinn Ewers was a 7th-round pick. But I bet he'll be more careful with the football than Tua is. And then at least going forward what you've got in a young player like a Quinn Ewers. So maybe that gives you a little bit of hope for the franchise, or you can make a better plan, because I don't think Tua is a part of the Dolphins' future. I don't think Mike McDaniel is. I don't think Chris Greer is. I think they need to burn the whole thing down.
And I agree with that. I think anytime you're one hit away from, are you ever going to play again, right? That's where Tua really is right now, right? One concussion, it sucks to say, but and you have to look at your future that way. I think the situation Brock Purdy came into was a bit different because of the foundation that was there, right? I mean, handing the ball off to CMC and throwing it off to George Kittle on one side, and then you got Ayuk, and at the time they had Debo, so it's
all over.
It makes it much easier to kind of slide in there. You almost think, do you kill Quinn Ewers if you bring him in and he goes 0-7? He's got nobody to throw the football to, and he's getting smacked around every week. So, yeah, I guess depending on what I think of Quinn Ewers, maybe I make that move, but yeah, I think right now it's just, I think they got to be they're in cruise control. Get through the last 10 weeks of the season. What are they going to do?
Right. They're planning trips to Cabo is what they're doing.
Anyone think they're going to
let's hear that. Let's hear some of the sound. Take your pick. Mike McDaniel or Tua. Let's go, because they have been having this war of words. Here's Mike McDaniel after the game discussing Tua.
There's a lot of guys that will have an important work week because we're not, if you are negatively affecting the football team routinely, I don't have a choice but to, assess a different player, and we're going to find out who and what we're made of.
That is pretty square on Tua. Now, Tua had this to say.
Yeah, he's going to take the snaps this week, and he's going to be the starter this week, and my expectation is that we don't throw 10 picks.
Oh, gosh.
That was obviously not Tua. That was Mike McDaniel. And here's the thing. Mike McDaniel thinks it's funny. And when he's hired, all those quirky quotes and funny quotes, they get a laugh out of the media. And everybody's like, oh, he'd be fun to play for. When you make that comment in that situation with your job on the line, with Tua's job on the line, and you make a flippant joke about throwing 10 picks when he's thrown 6 in the last 2 games, I can't imagine how that'd go over.
Well, that's what we talked about with Baker last week, right? When you win in, everything is fine. Everything's cool when you're winning, right? But the Tua thing is alarming too, because he came out with he said a quote about an hour ago.
I think this might be it.
If we have it, we'll run it. It's about Jalen Waddle. Is this the one, Emily? All right, let's do it.
Yeah, I think with that, some of it has to do with being able to see guys, with their guys also up front and our guys. And I'm not the tallest guy in the back there either. So being able to see, and then, sometimes when that happens, you don't want to just throw it blindly.
And I'll tell you what, that's so alarming to me, because we talked about Jaxson Dart and his cockiness, but how his ability to believe he can do anything kind of permeates the locker room. That's the second time in like 4 weeks we've heard Tua kind of demean himself.
Yes.
Remember when he talked a couple of weeks ago saying, I don't know how Josh Allen does it. He's out there. He's almost like in awe of Josh Allen. I can't do the things he does. Like, you should never say that. I don't even care if it's a lie. You need to instill confidence and belief in your players that you believe you can do anything. In 2 weeks, he's told me he's too short to hit his number one receiver, and he's not the runner that Josh Allen is. Like, I don't need to hear that from you.
That's a rough quote for all the short kings out there trying to play quarterback. You know who's not that tall? Baker Mayfield.
No, he's not. Drew Brees wasn't that
big.
Drew
Brees wasn't tall, and I actually love it, because it used to be you had to be 6'4" to get drafted.
Sure.
Now, at least we've opened up our eyes and realized, you know what happens when you're 6'4"? you don't see over 6'7" and 6'8" tackles. Nobody sees over a line. That's the biggest myth and misperception about playing quarterback that's out there. You have to slide, you have to find windows where you can see passing, throwing lanes. But to Tua's thing, there are a lot of balls you have to throw when you can't see where you're throwing. You throw to an area. You throw to a concept. You throw a guy open. We hear that all the time. So you've got to have such a good grasp of the system and where your guy's going to be, and most importantly, what the defense is doing, that all right, that defender will not be there because this is the look I'm getting. So I can trust this throw. I think this is reminiscent to when Sam Darnold was mic'd up on Monday Night Football and he said, I'm seeing ghosts.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
That's what Tua is going through right now. And he's basically sharing that with you, which I can appreciate your honesty, but is not doing anything to help your cause. He is seeing ghosts. He is not seeing the field at all.
And then to kind of revisit another thing Tua said a couple of weeks ago when he kind of threw his team under the bus about guys not showing up and putting in the work, right? Well, what I hear from Tua right here is, and that goes exactly what you were saying, quarterback and wideout relationship. I'm not the biggest dude in the world, but you spend extra hours out there so that, like you said, it's anticipation. I think about the guy who got me an opportunity, and it's my story, but growing up, I watched Wayne Corbett, right? Small, little, shifty slot. It was before it was the cool thing to do. And I remember listening to Vinny Testaverde talk about him. Testaverde would say, I could be running this way, and I just put the ball out there. I know where Wayne's going to be. And that comes from infinite amounts of time and reps and work together. And you just said it. Like, if you can't see Jalen Waddle, you throw the ball where Jalen Waddle's been 8,000 reps before, and you're safe. You know what I mean? That's what it needs to be, too. That you can't dog your guys for not putting work in one day and then talk about how you don't have a chemistry with your you don't know where your receiver's going to be.
Right. It's a mess. I mean, I feel like this is a recurring story. Like, it's just on loop how messed up the Miami Dolphins are. I don't think it gets any better. We'll see if Tua can salvage it. I wouldn't be surprised. I think they should play Quinn Ewers. I think they should make a change. And if maybe Tua gets a rest, it kind of takes his mind off it. He can get his confidence back. But it is a complete mess there in Miami. One of the more fun games this past week, it was a little bit a while ago, was the Unk Bowl.
Loved it.
Between Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco.
How about what they're calling it? Can I just cut you off really quick? They're calling it the Tapioca Bowl. That's incredible, right?
That is pretty good. Just a vintage shootout performance back and forth. Clearly, the more surprising aspect of this was the Bengals with Flacco, who had just been traded. I think he had 12 days with the playbook that he had to learn. Now, I think this speaks to the veteran experience of knowing concepts inside and out, getting familiar with the language. But once you kind of have an idea and you can read the plays off your wristband, you're able to execute the system. And I think it also shows how nice it is to have some pretty good weapons on the outside.
Yeah, you think those guys are excited? I was saying that a couple of weeks ago. You think Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are pumped up that Joe Flacco's coming in? Absolute new life for those guys. Yeah, I thought it was awesome, man. I thought it was super cool. 40-year-old guys, both shining on both sides. Both guys you thought you might never hear from again, right, at some point.
I thought we would hear from Aaron Rodgers. I think I thought he was going to be serviceable. I still thought he could play.
Same.
The Joe Flacco one is way more surprising. Here's a little listen to Flacco after the game.
11 days ago, did you expect to ever have this feeling again?
It's a good question. I didn't feel like it felt like I might not, to be honest with you. So, it's pretty special.
Does that enable you, does you let that sink in? Does a night like this give
Yeah, for sure. When I talk to my family and, we're laughing about this and just, that'll be a reminder.
I mean, that is life as an NFL quarterback when you're a journeyman like he is at his stage, because it was awful in Cleveland. I thought he could be serviceable there. It was going off the rails. And for him to have a performance like that on a national stage where he goes 31 of 47 for 342 and a little RPO action where he keeps it and gets a run. You talk about catching a defense with their pants down. I just can't imagine how much fun he has, especially the surprise of being in a new place where all of a sudden you've got weapons and have a performance like that. Unbelievable.
And you know what I think about too, watching this? It just is for regular folks to just realize, nobody has ever mistaken Joe Flacco for a great athlete or Aaron Rodgers for a superb athlete, especially when you look at them in this, in the grand scheme of things in the NFL. These guys are 40-something-year-old guys and they're still making plays like that. If that doesn't tell you what absurd athletes these guys are, right? But you're 100% right. Lean back on the things you know. I mean, I even think Rodgers looked awesome. Rodgers make 4 or 5 vintage throws. This was pretty incredible, too. How about this? Where he got tackled by Broderick Jones.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He was ticked off too, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in these situations where, you get an offensive lineman, somebody excited, but Aaron Rodgers, he's gonna feel that the next morning. That's probably what he's saying. He's like, man, I'm old. I can't be taking those types of shots. That was the hardest hit he took all game.
Yeah,
like if that is a defensive player, you're probably getting fined for the weight on top of the quarterback penalty that they call. I mean, seriously, they'll probably fine him. I wonder if Aaron had some sort of fine schedule for him. Caught up in the emotions of the moment.
I know that they got Aaron on camera like an hour ago, and he's like, listen, I love the kid, but I told him I'm 41, man. You can't be tackling me like that.
Was
if you remember the injury that put him on the shelf for a year, it was something like it was that.
Yes.
It was like that.
You
active.
can easily get a collarbone right there or something that is out there.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Chiefs being the Super Bowl favorites tonight. Now, one of the teams that is not the Super Bowl favorite because they have a long way to come back up the ladder, the 1-5 Baltimore Ravens, who came in as maybe a trendy pick to win the AFC. It was my pick to win the Super Bowl. I don't want to tell you that though out loud because I thought Lamar Jackson would ball out. It hasn't really been about him. Well, John Harbaugh. I've seen. You know who else? I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if this is a good thing either for the Ravens. There's been another team that has done this. So John Harbaugh removed video games and ping pong tables from the locker room after the 1-5 start.
It had to be an old school coach.
No. Mike McDaniel of the Miami Dolphins did this a few years ago. No. I hate this story. Yeah. So do you think it's fun to be 1-5 and be losing? And I don't think, unless he thinks the players are goofing around, maybe he does. Maybe he thinks the players are goofing around. But it is not fun. I've been on some bad teams. It is miserable. And so you want to take what little bit of fun they're allowed to have out of the building to make them just sit there in their misery and think about how much they suck. Like that's a good recipe to turn the whole organization around. I think this is stupid. I think this is one of the dumber things you could do as a head coach. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for John Harbaugh. He's got a Super Bowl. He is a great football coach. I think this is a swing and a miss for trying to motivate your team.
Yeah, I would say missing things like Lamar Jackson, Roquan Smith, and Marlon Humphrey from the locker room are probably bigger reasons they're losing than having things like video games and ping pong in the locker room. It's like, who can overcome that? Your MVP level starting quarterback, arguably the best backer in football in Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey on the outside. Like, nobody's getting over that. If you think that these guys are losing because they're playing too much ping pong, I don't really know if that carries any weight. Now,
trust me, I have seen a lot of guys, like when I was in the Broncos, every team, you'd have a lot of guys that would stick around and they'd play cards late during training camp. They might play ping pong in between practices. I was always too tired. I was going to catch a nap. They might do different activities, which was great for team bonding. Sure. I always looked at it as, man, these guys are building camaraderie. Mm-hmm. They're competing against each other in ping pong. I don't think it ever became a distraction where they could have been doing something else like studying film. A lot of times it was a break from film because you're doing this nonstop from 9 to 5, 9 to 6. It's a long all-day affair being an NFL facility. We've got, I remember here being on Valuetainment's campus, there's some billiards tables, some ping pong tables. Oh, don't say that out loud. But doesn't that healthy though? When you grind and you work to be able to have a little lunch, a coffee break and go get a quick game of ping pong in there. That's it. I think this is a desperate move from Harbaugh.
See, I've seen younger, way less established coaches almost pull the whole, maybe if they hate me, they'll unite together type of thing. I don't even think this is that. I think it's pretty ridiculous. I don't know that anybody thinks that the reason they're losing anything. Go to war with a full team first, and then if you keep losing and you could deem it video games, okay. Mm-hmm. I think it's ridiculous too.
All right, there's a story that happened in college football that I'm curious to get your take, Manno. It is Carson Beck, the University of Miami quarterback, who Miami was ranked number 2 in the country. They looked like they were on cruise control to the college football playoff, and they were playing Louisville in Miami as a 2-touchdown underdog until Carson Beck threw not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 interceptions, and he'd been really good all season long. It was his first really bad game, and the final interception was when they were right outside of field goal range, going in for a game-tying score to potentially send it to overtime. He throws a pick, and he was asked about it after his 4th interception, and this is what he had to say.
On that last play, that last interception, were you not expecting that defender to be there? They're running that kind of sim pressure and they're popping out at the snap.
We have a perfect play for it. We had a miscommunication with the route and what we were doing. So, Yeah, just sort of ran the route wrong, and I went to go throw it because we're hot off of a pressure, and again, he made a good play on it. So, but it definitely didn't help that we ran the wrong play.
So he said my receiver ran the wrong route.
Twice.
Yeah, twice. Yeah. This is like QB 101. Like if you were sitting down with a young quarterback in Pee Wee football, and I was telling him about how to handle yourself as a quarterback. Sure, there'd be a lot of ball handling. There would be a lot of footwork. But one of the most important things about playing quarterback is how you carry yourself as a leader. And one of the earliest lessons that you will learn is that you have to take ownership and you have to take a lot of the blame when maybe it's not your fault. And this is at a young age. Every quarterback hears this. You know why? Because you get all the credit when things go great. You get the girlfriend, you get the cheerleader, you get the big contracts, you get the big ads, you get the big NIL deals, which Carson Beck does.
Sure.
With that territory comes the responsibility of just landing on a grenade every once in a while. And this would have been an opportunity for Carson Beck, I think, to really gain a lot of respect from his teammates, because the coaches know, the teammates know, they know what happened on that play. But to air that out, you could have simply said there was a miscommunication.
Yeah.
We'll handle it in practice this week. I hate it, and it was my worst game. We're going to fix it. That's all you have to say. That's what you should say. And I get that Carson Beck is not in the NFL, but he is making $4 million. And so that's where I feel more comfortable than ever in criticizing college quarterbacks like they're franchise quarterbacks, because they are.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Took the words out of my mouth on every single way. That's what we were talking about before. It's a leadership thing, right? That's an opportunity for you to take up for your guy, to shield him, to protect him from the media that's going to kill him. Because, guys, unfortunately, right or wrong, social media is now media, right? So a bunch of guys who really don't know what happened are killing Carson Beck online, right? And where he could have, like you said, he could have taken the grenade, he could have protected his receiver, because the people who know. You made it abundantly clear. If you're in that locker room, you know. If you're breaking down that film, you know. If you're in that offensive room, you know, right? Those are the ones you really should be caring about. And yeah, that was a great opportunity for him to go ahead and be a leader, and he missed the mark right there.
I had a lot of I posted this on X, and I had a lot of people chiming in, a lot of people saying, amen, you're right. Kurt Warner, Super Bowl winning quarterback, Hall of Famer, he chimed in, and he said something along the lines like, I get this, but I don't think it was as bad as you made it out to be, which may be the case. Now, it wasn't like there was any animosity or shifting blame. I just thought it was an opportunity for him to really take it on the chin for the team. And I think your teammates do appreciate that when you do that. So it was definitely a hot button topic. The other thing I did see some people saying, here's Kurt's tweet. It says, today's college will be Carson Beck's 4 INTs, cost fine, but also business. Oh, that was a positive tweet for him. There it is. Just talking about the circumstance that he was in. So a lot of people said that earlier he took ownership of the interceptions, which he did.
Yeah.
But again, there's not much leeway for you being the leader of the team. You have to wear all of it.
You know, when you have a conversation with someone and they say, yeah, no, I completely understand you're right. But that's exactly what he did right there.
Right.
He took up for his team. He made sure he got the clip in the media, and then he hit you with the butt at the end. And that's the problem right there. You could have, like you said, you could have cut that clip right there, and it would have been like, great answer, Carson. But he just let his mouth keep going, and that's a problem. And you need to, as a receiver, and we've talked about it, quarterbacks from the beginning of this program, it's about getting the belief and wanting to go to war and believing that this guy can lead me into the fight and he'll protect me and he'll go. I know he's going to be there when I need him to be here. And when you turn on a guy like that and you put him under the bus, it's tough to feel like that.
Kurt, this tweet is Tim talking about how the big reason why they're 5-1 and why they were in that position is Carson Beck had played so good. He's more encouraging him, saying, hey, it was a tough game, but let's remind ourselves what he's been all year, including very clutch in some big wins. I saw it firsthand. I mean, he threw 4 tutties against Florida State and 0 interceptions, and he's more than capable of winning a championship.
But I don't think the criticism after this was coming from his on-field play. It's not about that. I think everyone believes he can play.
Exactly.
Right?
It's all about the on-field. We saw the NBA season kicked off yesterday, and we also saw one of the biggest stories of this offseason, which I don't even know if it was discussed enough, was Michael Jordan was going to be a broadcaster, much of the likes of Tom Brady, who is the greatest ever in the NFL scene, comes back to call games with Fox. Even though he did take a year off. Remember, he took a year off. He's like, I'm going to take a year off and then come back. Again. I know, me too. I think he might have too. Well, you saw MJ returning to the sport of basketball, and no one really knew what it was going to be like. Like, what role was he going to be? Is he going to be calling games? Is he going to be sitting up like Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal and Kenny Smith and sitting at a desk? Or would you get what we saw, which was more of a sit down with Mike Tirico? Let's play back a little glimpse of Michael Jordan in his debut.
Do you ever pick up a ball and just shoot?
I haven't picked up a ball in years.
No, come on. Just like walk past. There's got to be a hoop somewhere at your place.
You don't see a hoop anywhere around here, right?
I don't.
I was at the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
And I rented a house from the owner.
Sure.
He came over to do pictures. He had grandkids. So when I stepped up to shoot the free throw, that's the most nervous I've been in years.
Stop it.
In years.
Stop it. Come on.
Those kids heard the stories from the parents about what I did 30 years ago.
Right.
So their expectation is 30 years prior, and I haven't touched the basketball.
I hope you swished it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, he said he did. Your thoughts on MJ's broadcasting debut?
Well, first of all, I think that's part of his aura and his mystique is that for so long, we haven't seen him, right? We do. We see Tom Brady every week. We hear from Tiger Woods quite a bit. Wayne Gretzky's on the broadcast for the NHL, and Mike has done a phenomenal job of kind of backing away from the public scene. And he even made a point to say, like, all the time that I didn't get back, that I lost with my family, I've been really focusing on that. So that was super cool. You know what I love about him is, as great as he was and as much as he'd rip your heart out and as confident as you knew he was, he still has this humbleness to him. You know what I mean? He has this humbleness to him, and I think that comes from when he was younger, he didn't make every team. He wasn't the best player. He wasn't pampered like today's AAU NBA, basketball crowd, where at 12 years old, everyone was telling Mike how great he was. I think in 2 minutes and 35 seconds in this story told you everything about him, right? It was these kids heard about me. They've never seen me before. It's my job to live up to that, right? And doesn't that go right back to today's, it goes back to today's load management thing, right? Mm-hmm. Michael Jordan played 82 games 9 times. He played 80-plus games 11 times. And he always says, it went back to, I don't know if this is the first and only time someone's ever going to get a chance to see me. And he still does it till today. He still has that feeling today. It's, these kids heard about me 30 years ago. It's my job to live up to what they heard. And he did what he always does. He buried it.
I think it was weak.
Okay.
From a broadcasting perspective. Like, I felt like that was a bonus section from Last Dance.
Okay.
Like, I want to see Michael Jordan talking about today's players. I want to see him calling out LeBron James. I want to see him calling out Kevin Durant. I want to see him calling out effort. I want to see him calling out guys. You mentioned the 82 games, how many times he played there. I want to see him sit up there and say, why are these guys taking 20 games off?
All right.
I want to see him calling out guys for not taking shots late game situations. If this is what it is all season long, when he's just doing a little sit down with Mike Tirico, I think it'll be a complete flop. It'll leave people wanting more. I want more from Michael Jordan talking about today's game.
All right, so I may have good news for you.
Okay.
My understanding is the next one they dive into, and I could be wrong, they dive into the three-point shot and like the influence. Listen.
I better be like a three-point shot from that night.
No, it's basically like this. This is my thought process on this, because this is what I get. And I'm
worried this is going to be a little sit-down fluff piece.
Michael Jordan's never been about fluff, though, has he?
But when he's ever been about giving an opinion about today's player?
Yeah,
that's true. That's what I want to see. Like, that's what broadcasting is. That's what makes the Inside the TNT guys so great, is because they're out there, they're having great times, they're telling stories, they're showing personality, but they're also talking about the game. Like, in what other sport do you have a studio show and they don't talk about the games?
Yeah,
that to me makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know that I ever thought he'd come back like a play-by-play guy or give you these big, deep insights.
Like, but I want to see him talking about the game.
Yeah, and I think that's what I hope tonight is, right? Because I've been to battle at Mike, on Mike's behalf a million times to all the people who tell me he was a bad three-point shooter, and I was like, the three-pointer wasn't prevalent when he played. You don't think a guy with that competitive drive and that work ethic would be able to figure out a three-pointer? So that's what I hope to hear from him tonight. So I'll give it an incomplete.
So they are playing some more tonight.
I think they're playing it throughout the time. time, but I'm giving it. I'm
Here's
going to give it an
You
incomplete.
know what makes me nervous?
What makes you nervous?
I bet they recorded a lot, and they're going to cut it up, and they're going to play it. So that means, guess what? You are not getting reaction to tonight's game. You're not getting predictions. You're not getting criticism of today's player, and I think that's a massive fail. Now, granted, if I'm an NBC exec and I have the chance to sign Michael Jordan for a part of the broadcast team, you say, sure, MJ, what do you want to do? Maybe you just want to sit at your house and tell stories of Mike Tirico. We'll take it. But again, I feel like it's a bonus section from a DVD of the Last Dance series. I want to see more from Michael Jordan talking about today's player.
Well, I think, I
hope we get it. Maybe it takes time. Maybe at some point he'll open up a little bit more and he'll get more comfortable talking about it. Because, I mean, shoot, how many times you heard Charles Barkley, they asked him about a player, he's like, what team does he play for? It's not like he's dissecting a ton of game tape, but at least they know and they're watching games together. I think his MJ is even to watch the games.
I don't know that I feel like Michael Jordan is probably so plugged into the league right now, and I think he realized that part of his...
Let me hear about it.
You could. Maybe that's it. Yeah, I think there's a big incomplete on it right now. I don't think anyone really knows what we're going to get. It was opening night, and we got 2 minutes of it. So let's see, man. I don't know. I hope you're right. I think his knowledge and insight, of the game, and from being where he's been, nobody else can give you what he's going to be able to give you if he does do it the right way. I do think at the same time, these guys, Mike Tirico is a pro, and Michael Jordan, whatever you say about him, he's plugged in, he's got his finger on the pulse. So he's always been able to kind of move with the crowd and figure out what's the hottest thing from basketball to the Jordan brand. So we'll see if now he understands, all right, this is not what they were expecting. Let's give him some more.
All right, I got a question for you to finish things out.
Go ahead.
Are you ready to talk about this player?
Oh, no.
Hold on, let me get it up here. Do you know what that's saying?
I have no idea. Mr. October.
Mr. October. That would be Shohei Ohtani-san. October-san. That is Mr. October. That's right. He is the new Mr. October. From what we saw in the performance last week, heading in to clinch the World Series berth for the Los Angeles Dodgers, was the greatest performance in the postseason of Major League Baseball history. He was absolutely insane. 3 jacks. I was at a sports bar in Madison, Wisconsin when they're playing against the Brewers. So a lot of Milwaukee people there, Brewers, and they were just devastated watching him go at it. The performance on the mound, the 6-inning pitches, 10 Ks, insane. And I'm glad we talked about him before because we were talking about who's the best player in baseball and who's the MVP. Shohei Ohtani is in a class all by himself as a generational talent that we may never see again.
Yeah, I've fought long and hard to try to get Aaron Judge the title of best player on the planet, and I think Shohei grabbed it and put it in a stranglehold the other night. And I'll be saying this, I don't even know that was the best performance we've seen in Major League history. That might be the greatest postseason performance I've ever seen in a sport, and let me tell you why. What he did was, you heard it, Mr. October was Reggie Jackson. He hit 3 home runs in a game, right?
Right. He wasn't pitching.
Don Larson threw a perfect game in Game 6 of the World Series for the Yankees. Kerry Wood threw a complete game, 21 strikeouts, right? Mm-hmm. Shohei did them both. He did them both in the same game.
Yeah.
It's like nothing we've ever seen before. I don't know, man. And he's got this propensity to rise to the occasion when you need him to. I did it in the World Baseball Classic. He's doing it now. And I think a lot of these guys, once you get over that hump, right? Because it was a little bit of a talk for a couple of days. Like, he's hitting 193.
Right.
He doesn't have a postseason.
That was the last time we talked about. What's wrong with him in the postseason?
You know what, man?
I think broke that funk.
That's it, man. You break the dam, and now it's like that weight is off my shoulder. God help everybody if this guy is just been unleashed further. Because he's, like you said, man, he's one of one. There's nobody like him.
We'll see if the Blue Jays can take him down, but I doubt it as the World Series gets kicked off on Friday. All right,
Dodgers.
Jules, the fellas in there, they got something for us here as we go out. A little surprise, something. Let's see what they got as we end out our show. I love this.
These are always interesting.
We haven't seen.
Yeah, these
we
are
don't
always
know where
interesting.
they're going. Oh, let's hear it.
You know that.
Get your thoughts on the game.
I hate this team. I was born into this, and I'm not gonna ever. I'm always a Jets fan, but like, I hate this team.
That was so good and so genuine. You can't fake that emotion. And unfortunately, that's like a lot of Jets fans all across America.
I have a confession, guys. That's my child. I have lived that so many Sundays. I'm telling you, this is the first Sunday they haven't had me like by the throat, like watching every game. And I don't know what it was that broke me, but yeah, we all feel like this, young man. it's not over for you yet. You're probably about 12 years old. You can still jump somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
If I'm Woody Johnson, if I'm Aaron Glenn, if I'm somebody in the Jets organization, I'm reaching out to that kid and being like, hey, we got to give you a tour. We got to get some goodwill back. Let's get you back on this thing. Get his hopes up. Give him some love.
And then what? Crush his dreams again next Sunday? I mean, the same thing happens every week with this team. I can't do it. Don't do it to me.
Yes, it does. Oh, that was a good one from the fellas. Great job from the control room. As always, that's a wrap for us. Make sure you give us a follow on Instagram, YouTube. Check out the show channel. Subscribe it, like it. At Danny Kanell on my socials.
For sure, guys. Manno Steel on Instagram. And please share the stuff, like the stuff. Man, we're loving it. We're doing it for you guys. And check us out on the neck. Thank you.
No doubt. We'll see you next week.